A delivery guy, a barking canine who wouldn't back down. And inside that box, something no one saw coming. What did the dog sense before anyone else did? Here's the full story, but before we jump in, comment where in the world you are watching this video and don't forget to hit subscribe. The station was quiet that Tuesday afternoon. No sirens, no urgent calls, just the hum of printers, the occasional ring of a phone, and the low murmur of officers finishing paperwork. It was the kind of slow day that made the tension sit deeper, when nothing stirred, but everything felt like it might. Officer Elena Reyes leaned back in her chair, stretching the stiffness out of her shoulders. At the foot of her desk lay K-9 Officer Nero, her 6-year-old Belgian Malinois partner. Nero had been with her through 7 search warrants, 3 narcotics busts, and a missing child case that had earned him a commendation. He was calm, precise, and unlike some other dogs in the unit, not known for overreacting, so when his head suddenly lifted and his body stiffened, Elena sat up fast. He wasn't looking at her. He was staring at the glass door leading into the station lobby. At first, it looked routine. A food delivery guy had just stepped in, young, maybe late 20s, hoodie zipped halfway, holding a warm brown paper bag with the logo of a local Mediterranean place. Nothing unusual. Lunch runs were common. Officers often pooled orders and grabbed takeout between patrols. But Nero didn't relax. He stood, body tight, legs planted. Elena frowned. "You good?" No bark, just a deep, guttural growl. Then Nero moved. He walked slowly toward the door, every step deliberate, his nose low to the tile. By the time the delivery man reached the reception desk, Nero was right there, eyes locked on the bag. The guy glanced down, confused. "Hey, someone ordered gyros?" The front desk officer, Brian, looked at the receipt and shook his head. "Nobody's name on it matches ours. Wrong station, maybe?" "No, this is the address. I double-checked." Elena stepped forward. "Nero's alerting," she said. The delivery guy blinked. "What?" "He's trained to indicate when he detects a substance or material that doesn't belong." "It's food," the guy said, chuckling nervously. "Pretty sure it just smells like lamb and garlic." But Nero wasn't reacting to garlic. He barked, loud, sharp. Then he lunged, not at the man, but toward the bag. Elena pulled him back. The delivery man instinctively took a step back, hands raised. "Hey, whoa, I don't know what's going on here," but now every officer in the lobby was watching. And Nero, he wasn't letting up. Elena signaled for the man to set the bag down. "Step back, please. It's just food, I swear. Back away, slowly." The man complied, placing the bag on the floor and retreating several feet. Elena called for the secondary K-9 unit to verify the alert. But Nero had already made it clear. He pawed at the bag once, then twice, alert posture, tail stiff. His final bark echoed off the station walls. Something wasn't right. When the secondary handler arrived with K-9 Officer Flint, the second dog also alerted, but not to the bag as a whole, just the lower corner. Elena stepped in, gloves on, and opened the wrapping. Inside, wrapped beneath a foil layer and tucked under the warm food containers, was a second compartment, hidden between cardboard folds. A small, dense box wrapped in matte black plastic. No labels, no logo. When she pulled it out, it was cold. Too cold for something that had been inside warm food. That's when she saw it, a blinking red light. She dropped it into the evidence bin and stepped back. Lockdown, right now. Within minutes, the building was cleared. Bomb squad called, EOD dispatched. The device was isolated in the secure locker and shielded. After inspection, they ruled out explosives. But what the box contained was no less disturbing. Inside was a compact RFID data skimmer, designed to steal credentials from proximity cards like the ones used by officers to enter secure evidence storage, jail access, or digital case files. The signal it had been emitting? Not an alarm. It was transmitting, quietly. Had Nero not stopped it, it would have been plugged in and gone undetected for days. But that begged the real question. Why bring it in a food bag to a police station? Elena and another officer brought the delivery guy, whose name on the app was listed as Eli K., into an interview room. He looked shaken, confused. "I swear I didn't know. I picked up the order from the restaurant just like always." "Was it prepaid?" Elena asked. "Yeah. Digital tip and everything." "What time did the order come in?" "Maybe 40 minutes ago. I got the ping while I was doing another drop on 6th. Did anyone give you anything extra to carry?" "No, I swear I grabbed the bag from the kitchen counter just like always." He pulled out his phone and showed the receipt. Paid in full. But the contact name, Jeff C., and the pickup location, not the restaurant's address. It was 2 blocks away, an alleyway. Elena froze. "You didn't pick this up from the actual kitchen?" "No. The app said pick up outside due to construction. I figured it was a mobile kitchen thing." "Show me the GPS stamp." He did. It was valid. But the alley it came from used to lead behind a print shop, now empty, vacant for 6 months. There was no kitchen there. Back at the scene, officers scanned the alley. Nothing. But behind a dumpster, hidden under a weather tarp, they found it, a thermal carry bag. Inside were 6 more delivery bags, all branded, all sealed, each with a similar foil wrap inside. Every one of them held a box. Some were signal skimmers, others were short-range jammers, all active, each disguised to look like ordinary lunch deliveries, and each one assigned to a different address, all city buildings, all government offices, all scheduled within a 2-hour window. It wasn't a glitch, it was a coordinated drop, and the police station had been first. Elena reviewed the delivery app's back end with the tech division. None of the orders had been placed by real accounts, all used fake names, spoofed payment credentials, and burner phone numbers. Each account was registered within a 24-hour window, and each deleted itself after the delivery was confirmed. Someone had planned this meticulously, and the delivery drivers, they were all real, all unsuspecting, just pawns used to walk payloads into secure zones, until Nero barked. At 11:15 p.m. that night, after hours of debriefing and containment, Elena finally sat down beside Nero. The dog was still alert, head up, ears twitching, like he knew something else hadn't landed yet, because it hadn't. The final destination on the spoofed order list, a federal building 3 miles away. And the order was still en route, but no one knew which driver had it or what was really in the final box. Only one thing was clear. The network wasn't testing the system. They were already in it, and if one dog hadn't growled at the right time, no one would have even noticed. By dawn, the department was already stretched thin. The fake deliveries weren't just an isolated stunt. They were part of something deliberate, organized, measured, and possibly still unfolding. Officer Elena Reyes had slept maybe 2 hours, curled on a bench in the K-9 staging bay, while Nero paced slowly in the shadows. He didn't rest like normal. No deep sleep, no twitching paws, just a constant low-throttle alertness. Ears occasionally flicking toward the hallway as if listening for something no one else could hear. And he was right too, because at 6:42 a.m. dispatch confirmed it. The last undelivered box from the spoofed order queue had just been scanned by an internal access card at a Federal Records Annex 6 miles east of the station. But the Records Center didn't open until 9 a.m. When federal security arrived, the annex looked untouched. No broken glass, no alarms. Just a locked gate and a digital access log that showed one single entry overnight badge number F06287, assigned to R. Mantell, title Senior Records Manager, status on leave for medical recovery since April 3rd. So who entered the building, and how did they use his badge? Inside, they found the lobby lights on, but no staff. Nothing seemed out of place, until they reached the central filing corridor. A janitor's cart stood abandoned near the 3rd aisle, and inside the bin beneath a stack of cloth towels, a sealed delivery bag, still warm, same Mediterranean logo, same packaging, same second-layer compartment built into the bottom of the bag. Inside it, a box, heavier than the last. And this time, it was wired to a power cell, a device designed to spike static output into high-frequency file servers, essentially causing data corruption in analog-converted archives. It wouldn't explode, it wouldn't beep, it would just erase, Quietly, thoroughly. Back at the station, Elena stood before a whiteboard now littered with arrows, printed screenshots, timelines, and addresses. But the pieces didn't connect to one target. They touched all of them: police, government, legal records, emergency networks. Someone wasn't trying to steal information. They were trying to remove it. Every drop location is part of the public record system, the tech analyst said. Station logs, tax offices, court archives, records. Someone's scrubbing themselves, Elena muttered. Nero was lying at her feet, but his eyes opened at the word scrubbing. She knelt beside him. Who were we supposed to forget? The delivery driver who'd scanned in at the federal annex turned himself in later that day, confused, scared, and totally unaware. Same story, same app, same order instructions. But this time the spoofed sender name on the app, J. Mantell. Same last name as the badge that had been used. A relative? Not quite. HR records showed no familial link. But in the old employee files from 2018, something strange emerged. A temporary contractor had once worked security rotation at the records annex under the name John Mantley, a subtle variation, too subtle for anyone to notice in the system. He'd been terminated after 3 weeks, no misconduct, just incomplete paperwork. But his access credentials were never fully purged, and the photo used didn't match the badge that was scanned. That afternoon, as Elena and a federal liaison debriefed in the rear of the station, Nero stiffened again, this time while passing the evidence locker. He stopped cold outside the intake bay, one sniff, one bark, then another. This wasn't the same alert as before. It wasn't directed at a box. It was directed at a uniform, a laundry bag full of used police jackets collected for inspection and dry cleaning. Nero zeroed in on one. Elena pulled it out. Jacket number 2237, assigned to an officer who hadn't worked a shift in 2 days due to illness. But something was off. The tag inside, it wasn't his. It had been replaced. Subtle, clean stitching. The jacket was a duplicate, one made to match. And in the inner lining, another packet, thin, flexible, and RFID active, not for tracking, for copying. It was a badge cloning device designed to scan an active officer's ID tag from close proximity and store the data for remote transfer. It had been used recently. Nero sat back, chest tight, tail flicking with tension. This hadn't just been about deliveries, it was about embedding inside the system. Elena ordered a recheck of all K9 locker room surveillance footage from the last 3 days. She was looking for one thing. Someone who'd been where they weren't supposed to be, and they found it 3 nights earlier. 1:17 a.m., a janitor, no face shown, hoodie up, gloves on. He'd walked into the side corridor where K9 handlers stored secondary uniforms and gear. He walked in with a bag, left without it. They reviewed the logs. No janitor was assigned that shift, no cleaning crew was scheduled. The ID used to access the wing? Badge number 2237, the same jacket Nero had barked at. Elena turned to the tech team. Trace the signal from that badge the moment it was swiped. It pinged, once, outside the main city archive, then again, outside the courthouse records intake door, then nothing. No trace since. Whoever had worn the fake uniform had hit 2 systems and vanished. One of the intercepted devices from the food drop, one that hadn't been active, was sent to a defense cybersecurity lab. They decrypted the internal logs. What they found turned the entire case sideways. The devices weren't just sending out interference. They were pinging, looking for something or someone. The file contained an active search string, a phrase, AX log 11. That wasn't part of a station code. That wasn't police nomenclature. That was internal canine registry language. Nero's internal ID began with AX 11. They weren't just testing the system. They were looking for a dog, and they'd nearly walked the signal right past him. It wasn't about food. It wasn't about a delivery. It was about seeing how close they could get, what they could carry. And whether Nero would notice, he had, twice now, which is why the data packet hidden inside the final intercepted device had one line of text embedded deep in its binary header. Remove AX11, Operation cannot proceed while variable is active. This wasn't just about hiding in plain sight, it was about clearing the way, and Nero was in the way. Because one bark had collapsed a plan that was months in the making, but the one they sent was only the beginning. The real handler hadn't been caught yet, and what was hidden deeper in the box was still waiting to be triggered. The hallway outside the K9 unit was quiet that evening, too quiet. Officer Elena Reyes sat at her desk, staring at the decrypted log pulled from the final skimmer box. Nero, her K9 partner, paced the edge of the tiled floor, calm but not relaxed, like he sensed something neither of them could yet see. The message still echoed in her mind. Remove Ax 11. Operation cannot proceed while variable is active. Nero was Ax 11. And now someone had tried twice to slip devices past him. The fake delivery was never meant to reach someone, it was meant to reach him, the device that watched. Later that night, the cyber forensics team cracked another layer inside the third device recovered from the abandoned delivery bag. This one was different. It didn't transmit, it recorded. Inside was a looping audio file. At first it sounded like static, but cleaned and enhanced, the signal revealed short, repetitive bursts like high-frequency tones. K9 trainers confirmed it. It was an inaudible frequency designed to disrupt scent tracking patterns in trained dogs, a sonic deterrent, something used in military testing but long since banned in urban environments. It could have confused Nero, scrambled his focus, but he hadn't wavered, which meant whoever was behind this wasn't just trying to sneak something past him. They were testing him, and he'd passed. But now the question shifted. If they couldn't bypass the dog, what would they do next? At 2:36 a.m., just as Elena was leaving the precinct to drive Nero home, dispatch received a curious log ping. Officer Joseph Reddick, patrolman, badge NUD 1241, had just scanned into the basement evidence wing. Nothing unusual, except Officer Reddick was out sick. Officially, his car was still in his driveway, and he was asleep at home, but someone using his ID was inside the building. Elena turned to Nero. He was already up, tail locked, ears straight forward. They moved quickly down the west stairwell. No radio chatter, no noise. At the basement entrance, Nero stopped. He sniffed once, twice, then barked, one single bark, deep and direct. That was his signal. There was someone inside. Elena drew her sidearm and eased the door open. What she found made her freeze. A man stood in the center of the evidence room. Uniform perfect, jacket zipped, badge visible, but the face unfamiliar. He was holding a black case, not evidence, another delivery bag. He turned, didn't run, didn't flinch, just stared and smiled. "Too late," he whispered, then dropped the bag and ran. Nero bolted after him before Elena could speak. They chased the intruder through two locked doors, a supply corridor, and out into the rear lot. He scaled a fence like he'd done it 100 times before, but not before Nero caught his sleeve, ripped it halfway down the arm. The man vanished into the night, but the sleeve? It told a story. Sewn into the inner lining, just like before, was a data tag. But this one had a code printed in large, bold letters. Phase 2, disruption locked. K9 signature confirmed. The man hadn't come to steal anything. He'd come to confirm that Nero was still alert, still effective, which meant someone was counting on him not to be. And when he was, they moved faster. The torn sleeve held something else, a pinhead camera embedded in the collar tag, not facing outward, facing inward. It was designed to watch whoever wore the uniform, their movements, their hands, their surroundings. Playback from the chip showed something else. The footage wasn't from the chase. It was from inside the locker room. Someone had been posing as a janitor for weeks, testing proximity, recording K9 routines, mapping badge access, all of it documented, and all of it stored on external servers that the device regularly tried to ping. It had tried again tonight, but failed because Nero barked again. Inside the torn uniform's breast pocket was a folded piece of paper, no letterhead, no name, just a hand-sketched floor plan. One Elena recognized instantly, a small, overlooked facility operated by the city but used jointly for emergency alerts, law enforcement data backups, and municipal communications. The hub was scheduled for maintenance in 36 hours. The note at the bottom read, "Final upload, T35, all units offline after breach." This wasn't about delivery anymore. Fake uniforms, copied badges, disrupted evidence, erased personnel logs. They were trying to replace real identities, one uniform at a time, and had no plan to stop. The next night, Elena sat in a surveillance van outside the relay hub. Nero rested in the shadows behind her, silent as always. At exactly 3:14 a.m., a van pulled up, unmarked, black, quiet. One man stepped out, the same one who'd fled the station. He walked toward the rear access gate, no hesitation, swiped a card. The light turned green, but as the door clicked, Nero barked once, just loud enough to trigger the response team. They moved in. The man was arrested. No ID, no phone, just a fake badge. And in his duffel, a lead-lined drive labeled Replacement Sequence Phase 2 SLAR Roster File, AX11+. They weren't just copying badges. They had begun creating alternate personnel identities, starting with the one dog they couldn't beat. Over the next 72 hours, federal agencies confirmed it. An operation had been active across 5 states using delivery networks, stolen uniforms, spoofed credentials, and cloned K9 profiles to build a replacement framework inside critical systems. Not for attacks, for quiet takeovers, bit by bit, but they hadn't expected resistance, not from a handler, and definitely not from a dog. 2 weeks later, the precinct held a small ceremony. No press, no cameras, just a commendation plaque, a few stiff salutes, and one line added to the official K9 record: Nero, AX-E11, alerted on all 4 breach phases, disrupted network protocol, prevented systemic replacement deployment. Elena scratched behind his ears. "You ruined their plan just by being you," she whispered. He blinked, then curled up by her feet. Because Nero didn't know what he'd stopped, only that he had, and when the box came through the door again, he'd bark again, because that's what saved everyone. When technology failed, when protocols were compromised, when the uniforms didn't match, it was a bark that caught the lie. It was a dog who knew, before anyone else did. If that bark gave you chills too, just wait until you see what's coming next. These dogs aren't done uncovering secrets. Hit that subscribe button and give it a like, because the next alert might reveal something no one's ready for.